We're going to start in a standing position and feel where the pressure is in our feet. So if you want to come up and stand with me, if you're comfortable with that. This is more about what you are feeling, finding whatever your comfortable standing position is, and notice where the weight is in your feet. Do you feel the weight? And you can close your eyes if that helps you. Do you feel the weight more in the balls of your feet or your heels, the inner or outer edges of your feet? Where do you, your kind of natural stance, your comfortable stance, where do you feel the weight? So just notice that, and then we'll see. We're going to do a couple things to the feet and then see if you feel a difference as we go through the class. So we're going to start in seated and work on mobilizing our feet. Start with a little foot massage. We have these 26 bones and 33 joints in our foot. If we wear shoes, they often, they'll cast in the shoe shape, the foot. We're going to just use the fingers to press in around the toes and the bottom of the foot and the top of the foot and loosen things up a little. The muscles and tissues are kind of getting some blood flow in there. The other thing to think about is when we're walking is that our foot should be able to rotate. Those are all the bones in our feet and the joints, but the forefoot and then the back of the foot should be able to rotate a little bit in opposite directions as we walk. One thing we can do with our hands is just practice that. Staying with that same foot, you can put your hand on your heel and then your opposite hand on top of the foot, and you're going to gently rotate them against each other. It's not going to be a huge amount, but again, just kind of loosening everything up in there, because what often happens when, say, people have wobbly ankles, if they're not, have a hypermobile syndrome disorder, is that the feet get tight, the lower legs get tight, and then the joint has to kind of overwork to make up for that. So if we can kind of loosen and strengthen things in the feet and a little bit farther up the leg as well, then it'll help support the ankle. All right, so we got our rotation, working things there. The other thing to do is, if you remember the picture, all the toes are spread out like fingers. So we kind of want our feet to work like our hands. So one of the things we can do is cup the bottoms of the feet and try and get a little stretch between the toes. So you're trying to put your fingers between your toes. From here, you can move the foot and the ankle around. And I like to kind of flex and extend the foot and just use the palm of my hand to get a little motion in there. And then the last thing I like to do, so we're going to move quickly through things and then you can watch the video again if you need. And then the last thing I like to do on the foot is pull the toes. So lengthening, just like you would kind of pull your finger and you're lengthening the joint and lengthening the tissues there. You can try pulling up a little bit or down a little bit as well. We're going to stand up and just compare how your foot feels now in standing compared to before you did the work on the other side. We'll quickly go through the other foot as well, just to even out, since we're going to be doing some standing work after this. So same thing, we'll do a quick little massage. And you can find those points, that feel a little more tender and spend more time there if you like. And then the rotation. So one hand on top and one hand on the heel and rotating side to side. And keep doing that. The other thing I was going to say, if you have like a red spiky ball, this is another way to warm the foot up. You could do it seated or standing if you want more pressure, but rolling on a spiky ball or a non-spiky ball is that same idea, getting blood flow in. And then we'll try fingers in the toes on this side. And then a little movement in there. And then giving a little pull to the toes. All right. And then come on up to a standing position. You might notice they have different color. We went a little faster on the second side. So The second side might not feel the same as the first. That's fine. The other thing I wanted to talk about is with that rotation we were doing, that's part of our gait cycle. If you're watching my back foot, we're stepping forward with the front foot. The gait cycle is pushing off from the heel. So you have that heel lift, and then the weight comes into the ball of the foot, and then the ball of the foot lifts off and the toes push through. So there is that kind of rotation and separation of the forefoot and the back foot. Coming again to your comfortable standing position. And we're going to start just by shifting your weight forward and back on your foot, into the balls of your feet, and then into your heels. Then we're going to roll side to side on the feet. So you're going to shift your weight into the outside of the feet, the inside of the feet, see how that feels. And then see if you feel when you shift, what do you feel up in your knees or up in your hips? Is there anything going on there? Is it different from side to side? And then we're going to do a walking motion. You're going to twist your hips towards your left foot and notice what that changes in your feet. And then twist your hips towards your left and notice what that changes in your feet. So you hopefully will feel that kind of supination, pronation, rolling to the outer edge or inner edge of the feet is happening as you twist your hips, which is what happens when we walk. And that's again where your foot is rotating right in and out. And then come back to your center stance. And when you're standing, what you're looking for is that you have a tripod on the bottom of your feet. You can feel that tripod through your heels and then through the ball of the foot. So you've got weight in the pinky toe side, the big toe side, kind of knuckles across their ball of the feet, and then in the heel. See if you can come back to center and feel that. And then from here, you can bring your feet together for better balance if that's comfortable. We're just going to work on lifting the heel so that the weight comes into the ball of the foot. What you're looking for here is that you feel that your toes aren't kind of scrunching up to do this work, that it's the front of the leg lengthening, the back of the leg shortening, and that with control, you can lift it up and then down. And we'll do both feet. So just alternate feet, do a couple on each side. And you might notice your whole foot wants to come off in one piece, but can you like separate it? Last one of these. The other thing I wanted to say is for kind of good standing alignment is, besides the tripod in your feet, is that most of your weight should be over your heels when you're standing. A lot of people stand forward and then you're kind of shortening this here and lengthening at the back, right? The same if your rib is shifted forward, like you're catching yourself falling when you're walking. Try and stay upright with the weight in the heels and use the back body a little bit more. So you're kind of trying to even out the balance there. Okay, so next challenge is working on lengthening and strengthening the bottoms of the feet using the toe. If you can lift like one finger up at a time, we're going to work on lifting. Well, we're going to lift our big toe if we can without crunching up the other toes. So give that a try. On one foot or both foot, feel free to look down at your toes. You're going to try and lift the big toe and lower the big toe. Lift and lower. And then just notice what happens with the other toes. Does your weight shift forward? Can you shift it back into your heels? You could definitely do this sitting. What I sometimes like to do is actually like have my fingers on my four toes and just kind of train the big toe. Just give it a little, oh, this is what it feels like. And then see if I can do that without my fingers. Woo. And then you're going to try the other four toes. So this might be more or less challenging. And you'll notice your foot wants to make all kind, and your ankles want to make all kind of compensations. I know mine totally do. But again, you could start just with your foot on your toe, finger on the toe, and you're just getting the feeling in there. So that is a work in progress. All right. So that's another kind of exercise with the toes that you can do. We're going to add a little more strengthening into the feet now using a soft ball, or you could actually use a foam roller, or you don't have to use anything, or a band. I'll show all of them. We'll start with the heel, and I'll start with the band because it's actually a little easier for people who might be struggling more with hypermobility and other things like that. We're going to start with the band, basically pushing the heel into the band. You could do this more sitting and pushing down. You're kind of working your heel down into the floor. So that could be a lot of like back and shoulder work as well. You could definitely do it standing too. So you've got the band around the heel, and then you've got the heel up, and you're strengthening and lengthening the back of the leg here. So if you have a longer band, I do have a longer band, but you can just push it down and resist as you come up. And you can always double your band if you want more tension. Same thing with the ball of the foot. You could do it seated. You're going to be pushing in and lifting, pushing and lifting. And notice here, while you're doing this, what's happening with your toes. So are they kind of tensing up, or they're going into a lot of extension? Can you keep the toes fairly relaxed and find the work across the ankle, across the legs? Your big toe could also use some work, right? Because that's the pushing off in the walking. So same idea, using the band, creating that resistance around the big toe. So foot can go down, and then you just want to make sure the band wraps comfortably around the toe, and then you're pushing the toe down and out. And then you're kind of pulling, you can pull out to the side, or if your toe's a lot out to the side, you can pull to the other side. So you're working going down, and then you're working internally as well. The band is nice, but the ball will give you some great feedback. We'll go to the other foot and use the ball, or you could keep using the band. What you're trying to do here is, again, kind of work the muscles of the foot and the ankle and the leg by squishing the ball down and then lifting up. So the key here is not to lean your body weight forward to squish the ball down, but to use the back of your leg and driving your heel into the floor to lift and lower. And you'll feel your body really will want to squish by shifting the weight forward, because that's the easier way, but you're going to try and lengthen the back of the leg and push down. That's going to be strengthening the ankle, the foot, and the whole leg, that whole support system. Same thing with the ball of the foot. There's kind of 3 spots you could do behind the big toe. You could do the center of the foot, and then you could do the baby toe, the pinky toe, whichever you like. The tendency will be to lean forward and push all the weight down. But the key here, the goal here, is to push down without leaning forward. Can you get that strength through the front of the ankle, the front of the shin, all that tissue and muscle down there? Woo. And then again, the same thing with the big toe, right on top of the ball, or any of the toes, really. You could do all 4 toes. Toe on the ball, and you're trying to push the ball down with the toe and then release. So creating a little more resistance in there. We're going to do some seated work again, focusing a little bit more on ankle strength and using active stretching or active work. What I like to do for this one is actually have my foot or my leg up on something. It could be a pillow. You want it to be in a comfortable position so you can focus on your foot, and so that you can also see your your lower leg, your shin, because you want your knee to remain pointing straight up for this. And all you're going to do for this first one is make as big a circle as you can with your ankle without letting your lower leg rotate. You're circling as large as you can and really working that big range of motion. And let your toes move as well. And then just make sure that the lower leg doesn't move. Maybe 3 or 4 times in each direction, kind of going as slowly as you can. And notice at what angle do you feel things in your feet, or up your shin, or up your calf, or up the sides, right? Because your tissue runs up the sides of your legs, the front and the back. And then down across the top of your foot, and then across the bottom of your foot. And then we're going to evert and invert the foot. The foot extends or plantar flexes, it dorsiflexes, or the ankle, I should say, dorsiflexes, it plantar flexes. So it extends or it flexes, we generally say, but it also everts and inverts, goes out and in. We're going to work on the out and in. So plantar flex, you're going to extend, and then you're going to try and pull the sole of your foot towards your ankle, towards your inner calf, again, without letting the knee roll. And you're going to hold it there, just like if you do a stretch. And again, it's not going to be a huge amount, but hopefully you're stretching and lengthening the outer part of the leg. And then we're shortening the muscles and tissues in here, right? Contracting these ones, lengthening these ones. We're going to do the same thing in the other direction. So you can release, and then you're going to point the toe, and then you're going to try and bring the sole of your foot, or the outer edge of your foot, towards the outer edge of your lower leg as well. And it's not going to be huge range of motion, but if you're really kind of working that contraction, you might feel some things. We'll do one more in each direction, just holding it for a few seconds, trying to relax as best you can. Point, and then find that eversion. Oh, my other foot's like, oh, and then we'll do the other way. So that was with an extended ankle. You can do the same thing with a flexed ankle, right? Trying to twist and keep the ankle flexed. Try pulling the sole of the foot up here without letting the knee roll. And then the same thing in the other direction. And just notice, what do you feel? I like to have my hand on my legs because I can feel things happening underneath there. All right, let's try the other leg if you have it available, or you could do that one again if you don't. All right, so starting with our ankle circles, going around as big as you can. And again, it's kind of fun to have your leg on your lower, have your hands on your lower leg, so that as you move the foot around, you can like feel what muscles and tissues are changing. I think it's fun. Body nerd fun. And then after 3 there, you're going to go the other direction. Right. And then we'll do the same thing. So we'll just do 2 eversions and inversions on the foot. So you're going to extend the ankle, keep the knee up, and then you're trying to send the sole of your foot to the inner leg line, basically. And notice on this side, what you feel. And then same thing in the other direction. So you're extending and then trying and it in the other direction. So shortening muscles, contracting muscles here, lengthening, stretching muscles in here. And then one more on each side. And notice what compensations your toes or your foot or your back or your shoulders want to make. And then we'll do a couple in dorsiflexion. So flexing the toes, toes to the nose, and then sole of the foot to the outer edge. You're going to hold it there for a couple of breaths. Woo. And then give those a little shake. Okay, we're going to go back to the band and do some more work for the ankles. For this one, it's good to have a band that is tied. So you want a circular one. You can either tie a knot, or if you have a band, or 3 or 4, that
5
or 5, yes. You only need 1 though. So you're going to choose. So I have a selection of bands as a Pilates teacher, a movement teacher. I'm going to go for my big purple band here. You want it around the balls of your feet. Finding a comfortable seated position that you could stay in for a few minutes. What we're going to do is flex and extend. So we did this one before with the single. So if you don't have 2 doubles, you could do a single flex and then extend. The good thing about the circular band is that you can extend by pushing the ball of the foot away, working on extending the ankle. And then you can, using the other foot and the band for resistance, you can work on your flexion as well. So you can work your full range of motion, including the toes. And you can always hold it with your hand instead if you need a little bit more tension, or get a partner to hold it. Do that on the other foot as well. Pushing down, or do more reps on the same foot. And back. Push. And back. It might take some adjusting to find the right tension and distance for the band. Okay, so one cool thing about the ankles is we've been extending, we've been flexing, we've been inverting and everting the foot. The actual ankle joint has no like rotation, right? So here's your foot in dorsiflexion. You can't do that or that, right? It does this, and it does this and this, but it doesn't do that or that. Your knee, however, and your hip are what do that rotation. So if you're standing and your foot is out to the side like that, that's not your ankle rotating, right? It's happening at your knee and it's happening at your hip. So the good thing to work on here is actually doing that rotation from the hip joint using the band, but keeping your feet from going off on their own adventures as you do that rotation. Say, we're going to work in this flexed position. Then thinking mostly from the hip, because the knee does rotate, but not as much as the hip does. You're going to press your foot out to the side, and you want to feel the work happening here, and then you're going to bring it back with control. So you want to keep your toes relaxed on the leg that's moving, and the other leg, ideally, the other foot. The knee will roll out to the side. The thigh is going to spiral a bit out to the side. There'll be work here. Your foot isn't wiggling around. You're holding it stable from the ankle, from the foot muscles as you go out. So you're going to try that on one foot. Whew. And then try the same thing on the other foot. Out to the side and then back. And notice, what are the toes? Do they kind of perk up? Or can they stay pretty relaxed? They don't have to be doing anything here, right? They always want to get in the game and do a little more, but they don't have to. Last couple here. And you could definitely do this seated up on something instead as well. So that was kind of mid flexion of the foot. You could do more flexion. You could do more extension. Same thing, going out and kind of rolling out, the knees will be rolling out too. So that's another option there. Come on back up to your standing position. You'll need a ball for this one. We're going to do heel lifts, and the ball is going to go between the heels, trying to keep your weight back over your heels. So you're not leaning forward to go up, but you're using the back of your body to lift and lower. And you're just bringing your weight into the balls of the feet and then lowering back down. You're trying to do the whole thing with control, so you're not popping up and popping down. It's not about how fast you can go. It's more about how slow and controlled you can go. The ball will help with alignment for sure. What I want you to think of as you lift and lower is you're squeezing the ball with your heels, really giving it a good squeeze. And hopefully feeling those standing muscles up the legs, up the hips, engage. So as you're walking, again, with that push off idea, right? The heels lifting. We don't want the ankle kind of rolling out or in too much, right? There'll be a little nation and then pronation as you come through your step. We're working on keeping the ankles gathered together as we lift and lower. So that is one heel lift exercise with the ball, or you can use a block. And then you're kind of working on that focus on the legs and the back body as well. The other thing to think of as we're walking, we're using that kind of push off from the heel idea. What is happening when you're going up stairs or getting up from a chair. It's that same idea, a chair or a stool or whatever. I'm going to just do a little demo here. So you could sit on a chair or a couch. And then when you're getting up, are you shifting your weight forward to come up? Or can you use more the back of the legs? There will be some shift forward, but can you feel more the back of your body is lifting you up? So you're working your heels into the floor, and then you're using the back of your body to come down. That's going to strengthen the back of the body and not place so much tension in the front of the legs that you'll have that kind of imbalance from there. So one thing you can work on if you have a block or a step or a book, anything you got here, is going upstairs, because it's that same idea that we tend as we go upstairs to lean forward and push off. And again, it's all front of the body work. So can you step up and go straight up by working through that heel and the back of the leg? And that again is going to be more work on the ankle, more weight on the ankle. So the ankle will have to work harder there. You're not necessarily going to remember this every time you're going up some stairs, but something to think about maybe as you start the stairs. And then as you get stronger in the back of the body, you'll be able to go up straight up a little more easily. The exercise I was going to show, or the kind of relaxation exercise I was going to show you, is done with a wall. Maybe you know it already. And I'll demonstrate it. Don't feel you have to do it, but it's legs up the wall. And it just lets the legs be in a different position than what they usually are against gravity. And the weight of the legs is relaxing into the hips. And you're just creating like little different connections and different feelings for your legs here. If it's not comfortable to have your legs straight, you could have your feet flat on the wall. You could be a little farther out. You could have your feet over the edge of a couch as well, but as changing the relationship to gravity with your legs. And that is it for today's mini workshop.